Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, a new study suggests that those who stay up late are sharper than those who go to sleep early.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Was that study produced by the Wilbon Institute for Self-Justification? Was it?
Well, I might have helped with some funding. I love that, huh? Even though I'm going to bed earlier now. I'm in bed by 1:30, 1:45. You know, that's cheesy for what you knew of me when I was a youngin'.
I'm getting up at 2:15. What do you mean you're going to bed earlier at 1:15? Stop it.
Earlier.
Stay up later than anybody in the world. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Clippers back Kawhi. Kalen DeBoer is confident, and Doug Glanville joins us from the All-Star game for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with golf beef. Colin Montgomery saw Tiger Woods was playing in the British Open and said of him, and I quote, "There is a time for all sportsmen to say goodbye, but it's very difficult to tell Tiger it's time to go. Obviously, he still feels he can win. We are more realistic," unquote. When informed of Monty's comments, Tiger shot back, quote, "Well, as a past champion, I'm exempt until I'm 60. Colin is not. He's not a past champion, so he's not exempt. So he doesn't get the opportunity to make that decision. I do," unquote. Wilbon, did Monty say anything wrong?
Oh, my God, Tony, I loved this. This is something that as soon as I read it, I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this. Monty said a lot of reasonable things, and he also said things very, very praising of Tiger, which he has overwhelmingly been in his career. But, Tony, this becomes as much a problem on the messenger as the message. I mean, Colin Montgomery is a guy who, to me, in my lifetime, is the greatest player to never win a major. He's won. And so he never won. He should just leave it alone. Even though what he said has general application, I can nod and go, yeah. But then if I apply it to Tiger, I know Tiger's going to come back at him like Tiger. And I understand that. And I am on the side squarely with Tiger Woods, which is to say, Monty, you have no idea what you're talking about. Zip it.
Okay. So I want to check my notes because I want to make sure that I have the language that I wrote down correct. Did Monty say anything wrong is different than, is Monty wrong? The larger question is Colin Montgomery right? And the answer is yes, he is. And I would point out that you have been on this show the last X amount of years, and every time Tiger gets in a tournament, particularly a major, you go, I wish he wouldn't play because he can't win anymore.
Yes.
I wish he would stop. So you could be Colin Montgomery. Now, Colin Montgomery, should he have said these things? Probably not. Should he have implied that Tiger is delusional about winning? Probably not. He should not have done that. And his vulnerability, as you point out, is he's never won a major. He has come close a couple of times. He's probably, and I agree with you, one of the greatest players to never win a major, but he's never won. Ain't got no rings. So this sounds like a cheap shot. This would be like if your boy Paul George decided to take out after LeBron James because he played into his 40s. And you would say, whoa, stop for a second. Let's count the rings here. So while Colin Montgomery, he said, one of the things that was most interesting is when he said, it doesn't look like Tiger has any joy when he's out there playing. Yeah. I think Colin Montgomery represents, Mike, a bunch of older golfers who know how great Tiger was, and they don't want to see him scuffling like this.
Yes.
Right?
Let me add very quickly that while you're right, I have called you up during Tiger's rounds where he's, 7 over, and I go, he hadn't shot in the 60s this year. And I go, Tony, I can't watch. The difference is, Tony, I defend Tiger's right, having earned these exemptions, earned them in the dirt, to paraphrase.
Yes.
I defend his right to be there. I just,
You just don't want to see it. You don't want to see it.
Yeah,
okay.
It's hard. It's hard to watch. You know it. You love him, too. It's hard. It's hard to watch.
I do.
And I hope he wins this week. But I don't expect it to happen. Let's move to the latest turn in the removal of Kawhi Leonard from Team USA. Last week, USA Basketball announced it and the Clippers had determined it was in Leonard's best interest to focus on the upcoming NBA season. But yesterday, Clippers president Lawrence Frank said, quote, It was USAB's call, and I was quite frankly disappointed with the decision. Kawhi wanted to play. We wanted him to play, close quote. Tone, does this change how you see Leonard's removal from the team?
Does it change it? Only 100%. I mean, when this was first announced, it was the Clippers and USA Basketball. And I thought to myself, okay, if they're both saying this, I'm good with it. And I figured they were both saying it, Mike, because Tyronn Lue is on the staff at USA Basketball, and he is the coach of the Clippers. So when Lawrence Frank says this, you go, whoa, what is going on here? It feels like now USA Basketball just used, if it's true, just used the Clippers for cover. And you have to ask yourself, is Lawrence Frank lying? Is Grant Hill lying? Grant Hill later said, no, this is a USA Basketball decision. Then why would Lawrence Frank do this now? There's only one reason, Mike, to stay on the right side with Kawhi Leonard so he doesn't take 40 games off next year and so the Clippers don't go down the drain.
Tony, let me say this and be very emphatic about it. Kawhi Leonard shouldn't be trying to play this summer for USA Basketball. Kawhi Leonard can't even line up for his team, which he just signed an extension for. He can't play the games. He can't play the playoff games for years because he's hurt. It's not load management. He's not just hurt. He's injured. He's dragging that leg, and he's been doing it even in the 2019 finals, of which he was MVP and delivered a championship team to the country of Canada. What?
Why did they put him on the team? Why?
Tony, he wanted to be. The Clippers wanted him to be. He's a great, 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 great player. He should not be playing this summer. And Lawrence Frank knows that. And they gave him a chance to sort of sign off on it and let it go and everybody be cool with it. Lawrence Frank knows Kawhi Leonard shouldn't play. Hell, if he plays now, how's he going to play in November? How's he going to play by Christmas? This is arrogance to me. Lawrence Frank is great at what he does for a number of years. But Grant Hill and Steve Kerr, and yes, I'm going to include Tyronn Lue, they gave Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers a chance to be graceful and get out of this gracefully. And the Clippers, Lawrence Frank didn't take it. The hell with them. They didn't take it. They should have done him a favor. Don't say I got your back. He's injured. Work this summer and get off that team. Stop it. Foolishness.
Too many old guys on that team. Too many. Kalen DeBoer, the incoming coach at Alabama, is very respectful of Nick Saban's legacy. And he is also confident he can succeed there right away. DeBoer told Fox Sports, quote, Coach Saban built the program up to be something, just like many others before him, to where it's greater than one person. If you pour everything you've got into the right things and the right people, and you have the right support around you, it can be done, unquote. Wilbon, what is the word for DeBoer's confidence in following Saban?
Irrelevant. None of it matters. They got to play the season. I don't care what he says. I don't care about SEC Media Day, except actually the person who's been making the best observations has been Nick Saban, who's on our air now at this network. And Saban's talked about, there's a great line he had about this. He knows how much arrogance there is in the SEC. So Texas is not going to just come in there and own anything. It was great observation. It was well-timed. It was funny. I don't listen to the rest of this stuff. So DeBoer, he can say what he wants. What's it? What's the successful season? They got a lot of teams, Tony. It's murderer's row. Do I expect him to win it right away? I don't.
Okay. So let me get to this. My word is reasonable. Look, let's take Alabama. Before there was Nick Saban, there was Bear Bryant. At Notre Dame, before there was Lou Holtz, there was Ara Parsegian. A lot of stuff in between wasn't very good. But I'm saying you can do it again at a school. Look at USC with McKay and Pete Carroll. Look at Spurrier and Urban Meyer at Florida. This is a doable thing. This guy's record is incredible. It's 104-12, 67-3 in NAIA with 3 national championships, 37-9 in D1, 25-3 at Washington, just played for the national championships. This guy's a legitimate guy. He's not somebody who's making it up. And Alabama, which seems like so far away in so many ways from Washington, Alabama went after him. That job was vacant for 2 days. This is the guy they wanted. They could have had anybody. I agree with you. Talk to me after they played Georgia, but I do think it's reasonable.
No.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I just think it's irrelevant. It's reasonable, but irrelevant. They got to play these games in a conference that is like 8 times tougher than the Pac-12 has been over the last 30 years, except for last season.
That's right.
So let's see it.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, what makes Paul Skeens such a challenge to Major League hitters? We're going to ask Doug Glanville, who hit in the majors.
We'll also ask him how baseball can return the starting pitcher to a starring role.
So you don't think Lawrence Frank's trying to get on Kawhi's good side? You don't think so?
Yes,
I do, because there's no reason to do this.
I do.
Yes.
I do. Yeah. So pander if you want, but you can get called out.
Baseball's All-Star Game is tonight, so let's bring in the man who will be analyzing it for ESPN Radio, Mr. Doug Glanville. Doug, let's start with this. Paul Skeens is a phenom. That's the only word for him. He starts tonight for the National League. You hit in the major leagues. You've faced people like this. What do you think makes Skeens such a challenge for so many hitters?
Well, probably because I'd never faced someone like this. This guy is generational. The high velocity, first of all, you're talking about 103 miles an hour, but he's got great secondary pitches. So it's not just the guy who's just like, I'm going to just try to blow you away. He understands command. He understands what he's trying to accomplish. He understands when to pitch to contact, how to stretch his start so that it's not upping his pitch count. So there's an aptitude that goes with the swagger, that goes with the talent, and that's such a rare combination. And so approaching him, I'd probably try to hit the fastball and hope I get it. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble.
Well, we're starting with starting pitching, Doug, because you also played in the majors at a time when starting pitchers were still big stars. Not so much at all with Mr. Skeens being an exception. What do you think the league needs to do, if you think anything at all? Because Tony and I are even older than you, and we believe in starting pitchers as stars. What should MLB do to restore the starting pitcher to the game?
Well, Paul Skeens is a great example of that because he has that throwback side to him, right? Whether it's his approach or the fact that he wants to stay in there. You need pitchers to go deeper in the game because then when you look at the schedule the next day, you say, yeah, I want to see these two go at it, right? I want to see Ranger Suarez versus Paul Skeens, just like Fernando Valenzuela versus Steve Carlton. You need the marquee names, but you also have to give them the ability to control the entire game. They can give them the ball, and they're going to finish it, or they're going to take it really close. That's what the difference maker is. And Paul Skeens, he was on the road, and he's getting standing ovations. They're booing when they take him out because people want to see him. Those type of pitchers, that's the one that you build around. Those are the pitchers you build around to reset the culture around starting pitching. And because he has that throwback sensibility, then you have a shot to really recapture some of those things in the mano a mano between two great pitchers.
Doug, I'm going to follow up on that just for a second. Where does that happen? Does it have to happen in the developmental level as early as like Little League? Do executives and coaches and the adults have to be forced to understand what you're saying and leave these guys alone a little bit, let them be independent?
It's going to take a long time, but it is development. And because if you have the mentality of max effort, which makes sense because that makes people swing and miss. If you have max effort, it's hard to go deep. You don't have to think about going deep into the ballgame, going 9 innings. But when you got guys that kind of can blow you away, but also selectively choose to throw secondary pitches, change speeds, and they show that they can be healthy, which is really tough, then you might say that actually works. And it shows the athleticism of the defense because they're balls in play, for example. So it's tough because swing and miss matters. And there's no incentive to say, let me not throw max effort because it makes people swing and miss more. And so, but you need success and success stories of pitchers that pitch a little differently and still are marquee pitchers. And Paul Skeens is a good example.
Besides Skeens, Doug, what other young players that people might not be as familiar with would you say tonight, hey, look at him, he's important?
I mean, I like Bobby Witt Jr. with the Kansas City Royals, partly because this guy does everything on the baseball field to such a level. And the thing that was amazing about Bobby Witt, the story I think of is When I first heard his name and saw his numbers and watched how fast he was, I was like, this guy has to be left-handed because he is that fast. But he's an actual right-handed hitter that keeps hitting triples to left center. And I kind of got stuck in my mindset that this guy is so skilled that he could do everything, including hit from both sides of the plate, for example. But he does everything, and there's so much admiration for him as a young guy that's like an ambassador across the league. They all have this like, wow, this guy's going to be good. They knew it from jump. And he's one of those guys that now have signed with the Royals to be an anchor part of the organization. You don't necessarily see that as much of players that come up through the system and lock in and really become the face of the organization. So, but with his humility and his young talent, he's just a great showcase to watch. And in Kansas City, he might not get the attention he deserves, but he certainly deserves it.
Doug, thank you so very much for being with us.
Doug,
Enjoy the game
appreciate
tonight.
it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, Brandon Ayuk reportedly requests a trade. Really?
Ooh.
How
Ooh.
should the 49ers respond?
Ooh. And the SEC addresses whether the horns down gesture will get flagged in the season ahead. Oh, goodness.
What, the fans or if actual players do it?
Yeah, I mean, who's going to get flagged?
What are we talking about? Yeah. Happy time, people. Happy 56th birthday, Barry Sanders. The Hall of Fame Lions running back retired at 31 in his prime. Arguably, Sanders had enough good years left to overtake Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith for the most rushing yards ever. But everyone assumes Sanders just grew weary of all the losing in Detroit. Sanders was in the NFL for 10 years. He was first-team All-Pro 6 times, second-team All-Pro 4 times. After winning the Heisman Trophy at Oklahoma State, Sanders was the 3rd overall draft pick behind Troy Aikman and Tony Mandarich. Sanders was just ahead of Derek Thomas and Deion Sanders, so 4 of the 5 top picks that year made the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, his highlight package is unlike anybody else's highlight package, Tony. It really is. I mean, there are runs like that one where he spins out of the tackles against the Bears at Soldier Field. He's going, my God, how does he get out of that? I didn't appreciate Barry Sanders enough in real time. But now that the running back has been devalued more than starting pitching, you look back at Barry Sanders and you just go, there was nobody like him. Pro football needs more, and it ain't going to happen again.
Happy anniversary, Bryce Harper, on this day 6 years ago, with his father pitching. Harper hit 9 home runs in 47 seconds to tie Kyle Schwarber before taking the Home Run Derby title in extra time before an electric crowd at Nationals Park. That was Harper's last memorable moment as a National. He would miss the World Series win because he'd left the Nats for the Phillies and $330 million. Harper and Schwarber are now Phillies teammates. They went into the All-Star break with 40 home runs, 21 for Harper, 19 for Schwarber. Harper hit 184 home runs in 7 seasons for the Nats. Melancholy trails to Joe Jellybean Bryant. Bryant passed away at the age of 69 following a stroke. Bryant was best known as the father of Kobe Bryant, but was a talented player himself. The elder Bryant averaged 21 points per game at LaSalle and then played in the NBA for 8 seasons for the Sixers, Clippers, and Rockets. He later played another 10 seasons in France and Italy before returning to the U.S. and coaching the LA Sparks for parts of 3 seasons. In a 2010 interview with ESPN, Kobe credited his father with teaching him from an early age, quote, how to view the game, how to prepare for the game, and how to execute, unquote.
And how to do all that with real life, Tony. Those 10 seasons and all those years you mentioned in Italy and France meant young Kobe Bryant grew up a lot in Europe and spoke multiple languages, more than he let on, because I've seen him do interviews and there was no translator. He'd look around and go, oh, what the heck, and just do it in a language. You go, I didn't even know you spoke that. And, Jelly Bean and his family created that environment that Kobe grew up in and thrived in, and it's just still unthinkable to me that he had to have his son predecease him.
Let us go to the big finish if we can. The NFL Network reports that Brandon Ayuk has requested a trade from the 49ers. Your thoughts?
Tell Mr. Ayuk, who's pretty damn good, just keep your mouth closed, keep playing, you're going nowhere. Gareth Southgate stepped down as English soccer manager. Uh-oh. You surprised?
I'm not surprised because I read the quotes and he felt it was coming to an end and they did not win. I'm wondering, does the United States have interest in him, and does he have interest in the United States?
Wonder that too.
The Bears signed both Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. Yeah. Are you relieved?
Not particularly. We knew this was happening. Any drama was just created. Social media, mainstream media, they were going to sign. People were stupid. The SEC says the horns down gesture by Texas opponents will not automatically be a penalty. Does that make sense to you?
It does, unless, if you're standing over someone and you do this gesture, that's taunting. Yeah. I understand that. Other than that, let it go. Last one, Sun at Liberty tonight. Who you got?
I got a soft seat in my house, and I got a clicker that's going to that game. Sun 18-5, Liberty 20-4, the two best teams in the league. I want to see it.
You're not going to watch the All-Star game? What are you, crazy? We're out of time. No. We're trying to do better than next time. Jack McDonald, hole in one. Congratulations, pal.
I know a guy named Tony Cornelius who calls those exhibitions. I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts. And now, you know what's coming.
Only All-Star game worth watching.